I think our team is unique in that we build what we would call full stack data scientists. So, we expect people to be able to, build a model, to understand a problem space, to define a problem well. We expect them to be able to take that machine learning model and move it into production, and then also build a monitoring and help our stakeholders understand what it's actually trying to do for them.
Welcome back to the DraftKings Life podcast. I'm Rebecca Thornburg, a recruitment marketing specialist. In today's episode, we are exploring one team that's essential to the success of DraftKings. The team improves the value of the business based on data-driven decisions. This team is building the models for our products. It's a fast-paced industry using industry-leading technologies where you can have a direct impact. We're talking all about our data science team today. And joining me, we have one of our recruiters and a hiring manager to help us understand more about the team and our interview process. So I'm happy to introduce Sam Donnelly, a talent acquisition partner, and Bradley Fay, a director of data science.
Happy to be here. Been here 4 years now. I oversee data science as well as SRE and data engineering in terms of recruiting, and have gotten to know Brad for a while now, and we have a good partnership. And we've grown kind of a great team, and Brad's done a real good job cultivating it, and we're excited to talk about it.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I've been at DraftKings I just hit my 5-year anniversary, and done a whole bunch of things. And working with Sam, it's been great to go out and basically build this team we started small. I think when I started, we were at 4 or 5. And since then, we've grown to around 20. Sam and I have run the gamut in terms of how we're trying to find people and how we're trying to source people, but really trying to bring people together. And definitely super excited, Sam, to come here and talk about what we're doing on the team and what it's like to be a data scientist at DraftKings.
Awesome. So we're going to talk to Sam and Brad individually, but first, Brad, we're starting with you. Can you tell me a little bit more about our data science team as a whole?
Yeah, so our data science at DraftKings is kind of spans the globe, honestly. So we have a group based in London. They work on building models that help us predict the outcomes of games, and we use that to build our betting market. So that's, I think, when most people think about data science at DraftKings, probably what first pops into their head. And then based in the US, we have 3 different squads that are all focused on helping us drive, to your point, operational efficiencies. So we have one team that's dedicated towards marketing and helping us scale our marketing team. And we have our merchandising team, and they are working on problems of, we have a ton of content, so how do you help customers find the right content, the right betting markets, the right fantasy games, the right casino games? How do we do that? To give people a great experience. And then the last one is risk and fraud. And so we have a lot of challenges that we have within our business, trying to solve regulatory things. So we want to make sure we're not allowing money laundering on our site. So we're trying to predict when suspicious behavior might happen. And the flip side of that is we're also trying to help customers prevent them from putting themselves at risk. So responsible gaming of how can you identify when a customer's putting themselves at risk before they know it, so we can take intervention and help them have the best experience possible.
Great. And I know so many companies focus on data. Data is everywhere. Data is king. Why is the data here at DraftKings so special?
Oh, man. I think there's the piece of the data that I find the most fun is the products that we sell are essentially betting on sports games. And when you look at a sports game in isolation, that game has never happened before and will never happen again in the future. And so the real challenge is how do you use historical data to approximate what today is going to look like? And it's not easy, right? And it's so it's a sporting event. It's never the same team, never the same health, never the same weather, never the same timing, never the same conditions. All of those things are changing, and you don't have any kind of historical precedent for exactly what that is. Whereas if you look at, e-commerce, a product catalog on Amazon is fairly static, right? Those don't change that much over time. They just kind of add. Our product catalog is super dynamic. The work that the team in London's doing creates even more markets and makes it even more dynamic. And so they make our jobs exciting and hard.
Right at the same time.
Yeah.
Right? And then I feel like our projects too can be so unique and so different and change over time because we're constantly building and doing different things. So how are our projects unique to everyone else too?
So I think it's the speed at which we have to move with our projects. So the sporting calendar is very dynamic in nature. The types of customers that come to our site on any given day vary based on the games that are going on that we don't have any control over. And so how you build a personalization project that can account for the shifting different segments of customers, right? So like if you're a football fan, you may only come and use DraftKings during football season. If you're a basketball fan, you may only use during basketball season. And like those may have totally different preferences. So how do you build, recommendation algorithms? How do you build marketing personalization engines that can account for those very dynamic natures of our customers, so we can make sure that, we don't treat everybody the same. We want to treat everybody different. We want to understand their own individual preferences. And I think that's like what really makes our projects like particularly interesting, is trying to deal with that dynamicism of that really it's the environment that we don't have control over.
And even too, with your teammates, they're able to kind of own their models and take advantage of their models. Kind of like, as your team as a whole, what do you think is one of the biggest strengths of working on one of our teams?
So I think our team is unique in that we try and like build what we would call full stack data scientists. So, we're expect people to be able to, build a model, to understand a problem space, to define a problem well. We expect them to be able to take that machine learning model and move it into production, and then also build a monitoring and help our stakeholders understand what it's actually trying to do for them. At some companies, like those roles are kind of specialized. I think at DraftKings now, the maturity that we're at from a data science perspective, like we want people to be able to do all of that, just because it like helps us invest in growing people in their own career, in terms of like some people like to specialize and some people want to do everything. It also like allows us to basically like plug and play. And so if somebody wants to move around to a different domain, so if you want to move from marketing to merchandising, like you have the skill set to be able to plug in and help that team be effective, without having to like ramp up outside of just getting some more like domain expertise and meeting the people and things like that. So I think that's like pretty unique in terms of like how we're trying to build our team.
Awesome. Brad, that was fantastic. That was like a whole review right there. I love it. Great. Now we're going to move on to Sam. Sam, so you talked to candidates daily for different roles.
Yeah.
What's the best piece of advice you have for someone wanting to join one of our teams?
Yeah, I would say in terms of data science specifically, I would say, I think the best thing you can do is think about our industry, do research on what we do, and then come into the interview with some ideas or, potentially some just information that you think of what some of our challenges in data science are in the industry that we're in. I also think, I think being willing to learn and vocalizing that is important across just about every area of engineering. I know with data science, it's static learning all the time, and things are always changing, as Brad had said. Mm-hmm. And so really outlining a willingness to learn, outlining, your understanding of the business, your interest in the business, why DraftKings, like what is you interested in working here, I think goes a long, long way, especially, not just with me, but if you get on the phone with somebody like Brad or Greg Von Pless or other members of the team.
Awesome. Yeah. And is there anything special or unique about our interview process?
I think one of the great things that Brad and I have been able to kind of build is a pretty speedy interview process. It's also very agile in that we have a lot of people that can do a lot of different interviews. We're able to move pretty quickly in terms of, a call with me to a final decision. And that is advantageous for us because I think, the tech market moves quickly. And our ability to move just as quickly gives us the first swing at some of the best talent out there. So I would say, that plus, the buy-in from data science and the interest in hiring that everybody that's part of the interview process has. They, working with me, as Brad would say, isn't always easy. But, I think that the team does a really good job of, getting back to me as quickly as they can and, making real well-rounded hiring decisions to build the team that they are today.
I'm sure you're a pleasure to work with, Sam.
Yeah,
Don't scare anybody here. That's not our goal.
No.
But two, candidates, they probably ask you this every time you talk to them. What do you love about working here at DraftKings?
I love, first of all, the pace. I think, Brad knows that I move very quickly and that kind of thing. And I like the pace. I like that everybody's rowing the boat in the same direction. And I think that's, just a really cool environment to be a part of because you're thinking, things that I'm doing affect Brad or affect our data engineering team. And they're working with me as partners and that type of thing. We're really just trying to push and push and push. And so I really like the pace. I like the team environment too. I really enjoy the people that I work with. I enjoy the stakeholders that I work with. But yeah, I would say number one is definitely the pace of things, just because, I think we have the sports moves fast. We have the ability to move fast too.
Yeah, that's for sure. Even just our products
and
who we are as a whole, we're just constantly moving. Guys, that was awesome. Now we're about to play a game called the Favorites Game. So where I'm going to be asking you about a few of your favorite things.
Super.
So Brad, what's your favorite algorithm?
I do my PhD in marketing and kind of did an economist by training. So there's this family of models called heterogeneous treatment effects where you're trying to. It's super nerdy, but basically it's a branch of causal inference. So the assumption is that just because I give somebody a treatment, so if I give somebody an Advil, not everybody responds the same, and so you want to be able to identify who's going to be the most responsive and who's going to respond the least. And this is a mechanism that's really hard, but if you can get that right, you can. That's how we go about it and try and find that personalization, right? We want to find, if we were to give somebody an email, we only want to send it to people who care about it, and we definitely don't want to send it to people who are we're going to annoy. And that's the kind of family models that we have to use. So there's a whole bunch in there, but yeah, that's my. You can ask anybody on your team. I probably preach that way too much. It's like the golden goose.
Right, it's your favorite algorithm. It's what you love to do. We get it. Sam, what's your favorite thing to see on a resume?
I would say, organizationally, I like things to be laid out really well. My favorite thing to probably see on a resume is, projects that are relevant to the job you're applying for. If it's organized correctly, it should be easy for me to go through, but also contain pertinent information. And yeah, I think, actual skills that are transferable here and transferable around the market is what I like to see on there. I think, oftentimes people clutter their resumes with paragraphs and paragraphs because they don't want to leave anything out of what they've done. And, I get that can be hard to cut stuff, but I think, the succinct resume that's direct and to the point is probably the best route to go.
Awesome. Brad, what's the favorite project you've worked on?
Oh man, it's a tough one to choose from. So one of the subtle nice things about being here is you get to work on a whole litany of things. So it's really kind of hard to choose my favorite one. I would say there's been a couple different marketing projects, honestly best in class, and not just in the gaming industry, but probably legitimately cutting edge technology or methods that have been really, really fun to try. And it's been great because the stakeholders are willing to try things that they may not understand that sounds super crazy, but in my head I'm there's a bunch of things from computer science and economics that we can smush them all together and we can get to this really awesome thing. So those projects are probably the most fun, but I think it's that and also just the diversity of projects that we get to work on.
Very cool. Sam, what's your favorite part of your job?
I would say, I think the people, more specifically, I really like the feeling of hiring somebody, getting them to work here and then seeing them kind of grow here, as well as getting to, have a relationship with them. So whether that's, somebody on the SRE team or somebody on data science, being able to, meet them after the fact. Obviously, we've been hiring kind of remotely lately, but meeting them after the fact, garnering a relationship with them, it's super rewarding. And I think ultimately it's the people on my team, the people that we bring in here, and kind of the culture that we build.
Love it. And now for both of you, what is your favorite memory here at DraftKings?
I'll go.
Go ahead.
So I have two. So the first one was right when I first started, PASPA was overturned, and so that was the moment at which we knew, everybody in the building knew that okay, we're more than just daily fantasy, we're going into sports betting, and it was just very, very energetic day. And then the other one is more subtle. It's definitely much more personal, but I've had people on my team who have been able to grow and being able to watch them and help them manage their own career within DraftKings, across into other teams and then outside into other companies, where they're really doing the things that they want to do, even if we don't have that opportunity inside. I think that's been a really, those are really, really fun memories to have those and helping people get to where they want to go, whether it's here or somewhere else. It's great.
Love that. I just kind of want to jump on that a little bit too. How is your team? What is your team like? What's it like working on your team, and what are the vibes?
Yeah, so I think everybody's super nerdy. I think that's kind of the default. Everybody comes from a really pretty quantitative, but also fairly diverse background. So my I got my degree in education as an undergrad, right? So like I used to be a high school teacher, and then you have people who did PhDs in math, and you have people who everything in between. So civil engineering and electrical engineering, and so I think it's like we have very, very good problem solvers, and I think everybody brings to the table different tools to solve problems, but I think everybody brings that common set of like, I know how to break a problem down and to solve it, and it makes it really exciting because you can get diverse viewpoints, you get really good feedback, and no one's really afraid to share feedback because it's there's no ego in the room, right? Like everybody kind of comes in with an understanding of like, we know nothing, right? Like we know nothing and we're here to learn, which means like any information is good information. You just got to learn how to parse it.
And
that's part of what's fun on the recruiting side too, with his team specifically, is like it's so many differing backgrounds that, hey, if you have a skill set that can help us, we're willing to, give you a look, that type of thing. And it really is just a team of, I can tell you from the people that I've hired, I don't know if I've hired the same degree, like an actual degree. It's very much so, team fit, technical skill, and do you have kind of that itch to continue to learn things? And that's what Brad and his team have garnered, that type of personality for their team. It is really your team's personality. That's the group, and it's super effective. But it's always selfishly, it's fun for me. Right. It makes my job easier. Right.
The stories must be crazy, like their projects and their different experiences.
Oh yeah,
that's what makes it awesome. Sam, what's your favorite memory here at DraftKings?
I would say mine was actually, I've been here almost 4 years, but it was recently. Obviously, we went through, the pandemic and stuff like that, and being away and, not in the office was hard and that sort of thing. I really feel like the Massachusetts launch day was like just like a beautiful culmination of like everything that has been worked so hard for, even though it's just one of the states we're live in. The amount of passion that the founders kind of had on their faces for it, the excitement in the office, just the entire environment was really cool. And I think it really brought everybody together and reminded us like, hey, this is the camaraderie we have in here. And it was a really great feeling. It was very cool.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Guys, that's it. That was such a great episode. Thank you so much for joining me and just being honest and open.
Yeah,
we appreciate it.
Cool. Thanks.
Thanks, Rebecca.
And if you want to stay up to date on the latest company news and career opportunities, join the DraftKings Global Talent Community. You'll find the link by going to careers.draftkings.com or by clicking the link in the show notes. Make sure to follow us on social media at DraftKings Life, except for LinkedIn, where we're simply DraftKings. This podcast is available on all major podcast platforms. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day.